So welcome everybody, and a really, really happy and congratulatory World Maritime Day. It's an important day in the maritime calendar, certainly an event that we all look forward to celebrating. And safety at the IMO is paramount and always has been, safety and also protecting the environment. And with the theme this year of navigating the future, safety first, our friends at the Maritime Authority of Jamaica, one of the leading flag states within the IMO, we wanted to talk really about the whole issue of safety of shipping and how it's so important against the sort of unprecedented challenges that shipping is undergoing at the moment. Today's just a bit of sort of background information. Today's webinar is being video recorded and it'll be edited and available on the website of the Ship Management International magazine and sent down to its 15,000 readers digitally. And also you have an opportunity to send in questions. There's a Q&A button down the bottom and there's also chat facilities. So please feel free. We do have, we've got three panelists in front of us now. We have one panelist who'll be joining us in about 15 minutes or so, 15 or 20 minutes. So you'll see Dr. David Muir come in and join in the discussion. I'm going to go through, just to introduce the panelists, if I may. I'm going to go clockwise from the top left-hand side. And Bertrand Smith, very nice to see you, sir. Director General of the Maritime Authority of Jamaica. Now, just to introduce you, Bert, attorney at law with more than 25 years' experience in shipping law and international law, and responsible for Jamaica's ratification of a number of maritime treaties, as well as the development of legislation regulating local and international shipping. And you were appointed to this post in April following the retirement of Admiral Peter Brady, who we all knew, loved, and did a great job in there as well. And so, Bert, thank you very much indeed, and good to see you. And in a couple of minutes, I'm just going to ask you to give me your little summation on the importance of safety in shipping and how the industry is changing before we then go into the debate. Next on my screen, Dr. Evette Smith-Johnson. Evette, nice to see you and welcome to today's debate. The Director, School of Graduate Studies and Research at the Caribbean Maritime University, and also President of the Women in Maritime Association of the Caribbean. So welcome and very nice to see you today. A veteran educator and seasoned maritime education and training professional, passionate about developing people through education, training, and mentorship. And within the Women in Maritime Association in the Caribbean, you're a strategic lead for transforming the maritime industry through the development and participation of women in the Caribbean maritime sector. So it'd be very good to get your reflections on that moving forward. And I'm sure you've got some good aspects there to be said. And then we have, last but not least, Mr. Diego Billings. Diego, nice to see you, sir. Acting Manager, Topographic and Hydrographic branch of the National Land Agency. More than a decade's experience in hydrography, dedicated to enhancing awareness about hydrography, and you've led several projects which have significantly impacted the development of Jamaica's ports and harbours. You represent Jamaica at the UN Global Geospatial Management, and you are a country's representative to the International Hydrographic Organization, and you are the Seabed 2030 coordinator for the Mesoamerican and Caribbean Hydrographic Commission. You're going to have to explain all of that during our debate. Yeah, so we'll have an idea what it all means, but welcome. And then for people out there who don't know me, Sean Moloney, been around a bit, CEO of Elaborate Communications, but also publisher of the Ship Management International magazine. So welcome everybody. And so really, but let me just 2 minutes, if I can give each of you a little 2-minute entree onto the stage, just to give me your views really on the importance of safety in shipping. We know that, but against this backdrop that we have of the challenges and the changes within global shipping. Over to you, Bert.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. And it's a pleasure to be participating in this webinar with you and the other presenters. And as you mentioned, I'm from the Maritime Authority, and we're the Maritime Administration for Jamaica. And we're responsible for implementing the IMO instruments, whether it is safety, security, marine environment, protection. And for us, the topic is up. What is this future that we have to navigate. We have, as you know, security issues in the Red Sea. We have the matter of autonomous ships, unmanned engines, unmanned ships, which will pose safety hazards. We have ever increasing in size and technology, container vessels, large passenger ships, and we have the hot topic of the day, decarbonization. And for us to navigate this future safely, we have to take an ecosystem approach. We have to have all hands on deck. And whether it is the local shipping industry, and as you can see here, we have the Caribbean Maritime University, National Land Agency, you have the Port Authority dealing with harbor-related issues, aids navigation, search and rescue. A lot of players have to come together in this ecosystem to ensure that we can carry out our obligations in relation to the future ships, the future challenges. Now, where decarbonization is concerned, we're going to have some zero carbon fuels. And I will go into this a little bit later. And not just a matter of meeting the regulatory standard. We have to have a culture of safety, whether it is the seafarers on board, the persons ashore handling the fuels. We have to have a culture of safety that would ensure that we can decarbonize and posing risk to the seafarers and other persons who are handling these new fuels. So I'll stop here, but the point I want to make is that it's going to take an ecosystem approach and has to be a culture of safety to navigate this future safely.
You've touched on a number of key elements there, Bert. Okay. A lot happening within the industry at the moment. You talked about geopolitics, and that throws up a whole range of issues to do with parallel fleets and adherence to international rules and regulations regarding safety and pollution and all aspects like that. So we can come on to that. Decarbonisation, very, very important. The industry is not at a crossroads, it's at a spaghetti junction with lots of different routes and opportunities and challenges. One Greek ship owner said to me a month ago at a conference, if I go and buy a car, the car manufacturer tells me what engine I've got. The industry is asking me as a ship owner to change and fuel, and it should be down to the engine builders, whatever. So there's a lot of issues there going on. This whole issue of culture is really, really important against a backdrop of a fragmented industry and a multifaceted industry. It's going to be interesting, but we'll get some good elements there that we can discuss. Evette, let me come on to you, if I may, just to get your little snapshot there as well, and no doubt on the training side as well. But Evette, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sean. And I'm happy to be here with my colleagues. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. Sean, wherever we have big business and a business space such as the maritime space, whenever we react and plan for posterity, react to challenges, for example, and plan for posterity, we invariably center on the business end of things. But I'm happy that I've been hearing the word culture, because inevitably any space that wants to secure its posterity will have to focus on not just the professionals who are functioning in that space in the present, but we have to think about the next generation. And so as an educator, I speak first as an educator, I believe that one of the things that we must do to speak to safety for the future, and even now, is to look at training the maritime conscience, developing a consciousness about maritime matters and the excruciating importance of those matters to our sustained viability as a country, as a region, and as a global space. And so as an educator, I want to make a call for us to look at training out the youngsters in our education system in this fundamentally crucial space to our existence. There is no way maritime consciousness should not be on our earliest curriculums, from early childhood right up to the secondary stage. And I say secondary stage because by the time persons opt to come to Caribbean Maritime University or go to UTT or to the SUNY Maritime College in New York, chances are they have made a conscious decision to become a professional in that space. Somehow we have to pick on people before they get to that space. So there is some degree of automaticity in thinking safety, maritime business, the importance of the sea. And so I want to present an argument that though we have to compensate for the past with regulations from the IMO and fix some of the things we've done wrong as best as we can, and that will redound into present action, I believe with all my heart that we have to lay a solid future in developing the maritime consciousness amongst our people and training out a maritime conscience so that the safety of future business is secure and safety in general. So people will understand what pollution does, why it is important to secure our maritime spaces, that sort of thing. So I want to speak to education today, Sean.
And that's well put, Evette. And I think really, when you look at, and the industry complains very much about this element of sea blindness when it talks to the man in the street or the woman in the street. And, shipping has got a challenge. It's got to try and encourage the younger generation to come into shipping. But shipping is now facing, an interesting future with digitalization, innovation, lots of change there as far as that is concerned. The man or the woman in the street only get concerned with shipping when a vessel gets stuck in the Suez Canal and their fridge or their TV is delayed. Suddenly shipping is bad and why haven't I got my TV from Sony or whatever? Shipping plays a crucial role. And I think you're exactly right. If we could get to that lovely state of nirvana where we have that very strong maritime consciousness, I think that'd be excellent because the young people from tomorrow, we need them into our industry. But certainly elements there that we're going to be talking about. And I do want to talk about the women in maritime that you play a role in there as well, because strangely it is, half of the people on this earth are women and they need to be in shipping as well. So this is important. Diego, let me come over to you, sir, and welcome again. If I could just ask you just to give us a little snapshot on your thoughts on this, very much from a hydrographic perspective, and I'm sure you want to talk about the importance of hydrography as far as safety is concerned. But give me a little bit of a flavour there, and then we can then take it further.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sean. Okay, so basically today I will be speaking more on a hydrographic perspective, basically when it comes to safety. So at the National Land Agency, we are the National Hydrographic Office, right? So one of our main duties is basically safety of navigation, right? So with our partners at the United Kingdom Hydrographic Office, we do the mapping, we carry the hydrographic surveys, and then we send that data to the UK Hydrographic Office, and they prepare all the paper charts and all the ENCs, and so that mariners can have access to them when they're actually entering our port. Because one of the key things is that if a shipping company deems our port and harbors unsafe, they would not allow their ships to come in, and that will be a great loss economically for Jamaica, right? So our main objective here at the National Land Agency is to basically keep our ports and harbors open, and especially the Kingston Harbor. So what we have done through the National Hydrographic Committee, we have put together a rapid task force in terms of disasters. And this is a prime example. There was a boat that sank in the Kingston Harbor, and we were called and we mobilized in less than 12 hours on the location of that vessel that sank, and notified the Port Authority, which they notified all the mariners. So that's one of the reasons why hydrography is really important to shipping.
So do you just extrapolating it a bit further? I mean, as I said, shipping is changing, vessel sizes are changing, all of those sort of parameters there, ports are changing. You've got, I think the one thing that happened during COVID was, the backlog of vessels coming in. There's only so many ports and this increasing number of ships. What are the challenges for that, would you say, Diego? Because, does more need to be done as far as, the hydrographic sort of scanning of seabeds and stuff like that? Or is that being sorted out? Or do ships need to behave in different ways? What are the challenges?
Really, here, well, the challenges, I would say, is we have more than one port to basically operate. So the challenges in terms of mapping all those ports is that insufficient, I would say, like manpower basically to get all those harbors mapped in time. But I can say though, in Jamaica, in the history of Jamaican waters, there has never been a recorded instance where a vessel sank, right? So I think we're doing pretty well in terms of that aspect, in terms of providing the hydrographic data needed for these ships to come into our ports, basically.
Okay, lovely. Well, thank you very much indeed. One of our sort of more comprehensive entrees in, and really, really good stuff there. Evette, I'm going to come to you first, really. We within the shipping industry, we hear a lot about ESG and diversity and all this stuff, and the real focus going in on the S, on the social side, on the people, and you hear it being talked about all the time. Being a past journalist and everything, I tend to get a bit cynical of when people talk about it and how are they backing it up with actions and what have you. We talk about a culture, we talk about new generation, we talk about trying to encourage people in, we talk about it having this new consciousness about the maritime sector. Is the industry doing enough, do you think, to really tackle this whole issue about the social side, about the people side? Because it's not just seafarers on board the ship. It's the right type of seafarers because ships are changing, the demographic, but it's also about the people that we need to bring into our offices who are going to be supporting the vessels at sea as well. So what are your thoughts? Is shipping doing enough when it comes to all of this? You're on mute, Evette, so just to say.
Thank you. I did not want to disturb the gentleman with ambient noises, so I had to mute up. I want to attempt to answer your question, and I want to say, Sean, that honestly, if enough were being done, then the IMO would be supporting 8 women in maritime associations across the developing regions of the world. But I can say definitely that more is being done now than probably have been done ever before to ensure that there is diversity in all the spaces where the maritime business is practiced. And the Women in Maritime Association, we focus on, the traditional female gender because diversity has so many elements. So, if we should get started along those lines, we would open up a can of worms. But this, I will say, with the support given under the IMO gender program,
the vessels,
to the Women in Maritime Associations across the globe. Our colleague, we have a code word. We say SEASTERS. Our sisters in the Pacific region, Africa, across the Arab regions, and here in the Caribbean, we recognize that women are always in the business, and one of our mandates is to recognize the women in the business, because it's not to say that we are trying to put women in the business. They've been there. They have been there, have been a little bit invisible. What we find in this era of our association is that more women are serving in the spaces where decisions are being taken about maritime business. Women are serving as captains, chief engineers, safety officers, ship surveyors, they're environmental advocates, and they are managing ports and port operation business and the land-based business allied to the seafaring business that keeps the machinery moving. And we are saying, let's hear your voice. What we're asking for is continued, and I'm careful to say permission, but continued permission, the continued space to have all these unique voices at the table. We have some proven spaces. When the Organization of American States names a Woman of the Year in shipping, the Caribbean region never lacks for a woman to be named as Woman of the Year. So that's one part of the business where women serve. Women serve in most of the decision-making space. And we want to say, allow them to continue to put their voices into the discourse about safety and safety of shipping from all the spaces that safety is defined and considered. When we marry the present professionals with the
vessels
future of shipping, one of the things that we do in the Women in Maritime Association Caribbean is that we ask our partners to help us to recognize that the partnerships are there. And so thankfully in the Caribbean region, we have an MOU, and that is the Women in Maritime Association. I say WIMAC after this. We have a memorandum of understanding with most of the key players in the industry. There is one with the Caribbean Shipping Association. There's one with the Port Management Association of the Caribbean. There's one with the Organization of American States Committee on Ports. And we continue to sign those MOUs to enter into spaces where we can operationalize the endorsement of women and their contribution to the industry. I'll speak about our Caribbean Shipping Association partnership because we're entering into a mentorship program where women at the helm and in positions of influence can lend their expertise and their knowledge to other professional women who are coming up the curve of their own professional space in this sector. In the Women in Maritime Association, I said I would say WIMAC, right? We have launched student chapters in the Maritime Education and Training institution. So at Caribbean Maritime University, we have a student chapter. What we have is a group of young women whom we're going to tip off into the industry as soon as they complete these degrees in the field. But they now have opportunity to interface with women who are already in the industry. And they also have the obligation of going into a high school and forming a maritime club, because we are saying, let's get the primary or the high school students knowledgeable about what is happening here. And then we have amazing synergies with spaces like the American Maritime Caribbean Foundation that offers scholarships to students cadets and students from the Bahamas right through to Suriname. And so we have a rich space for discussion. So are we doing enough? No, but are we doing something? Yes, we're doing some big things, and we hope to build on that until it is enough, Sean.
No, Evette, I mean, these are amazing initiatives that you're putting in place. Shipping, as we know, is a global industry. Do you think enough is being done to, and I'm going to introduce Dr. Muir in a second. So, Dr. Muir, nice to see you. I'll introduce you in a second. But is enough being done, Evette, do you think, to bring the vessels, fragmented element of shipping, and the maritime administrations and all the flag states and the class societies, to bring them together to have that shared sort of view on how we can actually achieve and overcome these challenges that we're trying to do as far as getting people into the industry is concerned, and certainly more diversity into the industry?
So to answer that bluntly, no. The IMO as a machine regulates and suggests, but individual states must legislate and support and police. And so what we are looking forward to now is more than our marad with an amazing maritime lawyer at the helm saying, this is how we'll support. We need our ministries to write things into legislation and say, this is what will be done. And this is how it will be supported as a piece of a law in the country. And we want that right across the Caribbean region. And from state to state, we will find differences. Some do more in one area, some do more in another. But by way of the space for diversity and the inclusion of women and just balancing how all
the vessels,
people who constitute the human element in shipping, how all are treated, enough is not being done.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Evette, and there'll be a few elements that we can develop. Before I've got a whole barrel load of questions for Bert in a second, but I want to introduce Dr. David Muir, who's adjunct lecturer, Faculty of Marine Sciences at the Caribbean Maritime University. Dave, welcome. His background is electrical, mechanical, and computer engineering. His research areas and expertise are in AI, Internet of Things, STEM education, robotics, automation, predictive maintenance and energy and sustainability, among other things. Goodness me, you have a busy time, David, all of that lot. And at the Solent University Warsash, you trained electrotechnical officers and chief engineers. So welcome to the debate, sir. And like everybody else, I'm going to give you 2 minutes just to give me a little bit of an overview snapshot on your views on safety of shipping and why it's important against the sort of challenges that we're all facing in the industry.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me. And a good morning to all my esteemed panelists who are actually here representing us this morning. Right. So as we tackle this idea of course, safety in the maritime industry, the angle that I want to actually look at safety from, right, is the whole idea of where are we in terms of training, right? So it's actually safety training, safety education. That's actually there. And what are some of the tools that are actually available that can actually help us to actually enhance the experiences that or present cadets and seafarers that are actually facing all these complex operations at time. How can we assist from a training, from an education point of view with these initiatives, of course, using technologies, specifically, of course, generative AI, the buzz term that's in everything right now. We want to apply that here in the safety environment. And of course, also other technologies in which actually work with those, namely augmented and virtual reality as well. So where it is that I'm actually coming from is that I also want to draw to the audience's attention that with the IMO actually having regional center in Trinidad that fosters, of course, best practice and transfer of knowledge and stuff. I want to ensure that we are also drawing on these resources as a country. Together, we are actually incorporating, also feeding our best practices into that center so that we can get maximum exposure that's there in that regional center that was actually built for that purpose as well. Speaking specifically of the opportunities that artificial intelligence bring, I'm sure as you are aware, right, one of the things that we definitely need to start to do now is the time. We always used to have the saying that we want to think outside of the box. So here it is that we actually have a tool that's actually facilitating us actually thinking out of the box. So you can have, for example, let's say maybe the most experienced trainers, captains that are actually there carrying out these training scenarios, right? The artificial intelligence, once we have captured their training techniques, their data, their information that's there, we can now extrapolate. We can now, of course, extend these experiences. We can now start to, of course, build much more scenarios that are actually there into the training. So hence overall the training will now become much more comprehensive, much more exhaustive. We have different scenarios in which we can now train and we can actually, of course, test and ensure that our cadets are actually ready for any of the different, varied amount of situations that they face out there at sea. So that's the generative AI part. We already have a lot of infrastructure that's there to facilitate this. For example, at CMU, I'm aware of the simulators that we actually have there that we're presently use in training. What I'm actually saying is that now is the time to rethink in terms of this present system and the present data that we actually have and see how far we can go now in terms of augmenting these present training systems that we're actually doing. So taking that data and generating more training data that would assist us. In terms of
So good. And I just want to touch on one point there. I mean, when you look at digitalization, AI, it's fascinating stuff. I love it all. I mean, I'm looking at ways that get very, very excited about artificial intelligence and how it can improve our lives. Shipping, and it's interesting talking to Greek ship owners who are very, very at the back of the queue when it comes to digitalization, and then you've got sort of early adopters, you've got companies that are, they're leading the way when it comes to this type of innovation. Is that the challenge we have? Because part of the sort of element we've been talking about and touching on a second ago is creating a sort of a safety culture, industry-wide safety culture. But it's difficult when you've got the industry moving at different speeds. The vessels. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, that's true. So I'm aware of that. I've heard that, the shipping industry, it's behind. They're the latest ones to adopt the technologies, etc. Yes, so we know we have those challenges that are there. But then what I would say to that is that we just have to start with where it is that we are. Things, for example, like safety, right? A big part of safety is what we haven't actually started to touch. It is also things like cybersecurity, right? When we talk about cybersecurity, sometimes people always feel that it has to be, this whole new technology era stuff and everything. I want to say to us this morning that something as simple as you put in a device that can cover your laptop camera, right? That's there that you can move it, open and close it. It's cybersecurity, right? How easy is that to implement? These are some of the basic things, and we can go build from there. These are things that we actually that can be done immediately. So we have to start in terms of where it is that we are, and then as we go along, they realize that, okay, well, yes, I've done this layer in terms of security, in terms of safety. Let me try and build this, on the other layers that are there.
Okay. Thank you for now, Dave. That's excellent. I'm going to come on to Bert now. And also then I'm going to get some views from Diego. And say to the rest of the panelists, just jump in. We're all here to have a good discussion, a good chat, because this whole issue of safety. Now, the one bit that really, really surprises me in shipping, and I've been in it for 42 years, we're still going to have a strapline from the United Nations that says putting safety first in shipping. The vessels. Should we be doing that anyway? I mean, when we go on a plane, the captain doesn't come on and say, I'm delighted to say we've shut the doors and we're all putting a bit of safety first. You accept it. You expect it. It's the whole reason I'm getting on it, because I know it's going to be safe. But let me bring you in about this sort of culture of safety. Should we still be going on about it? Why haven't we learned this lesson yet as an industry? The vessels.
Unfortunately, safety comes with a cost. And when you're doing business, you look at your cost and the cost that can be reduced. You will focus
the vessels
on that cost. And, the first SOLAS convention was a response to the Titanic. But going forward, we cannot be responsive. We have to be proactive. And that is why all of us on the panel are promoting this culture of safety. Now, the IMO's GHG reduction strategy has three main priorities: to promote the energy transition,
the vessels,
incentivize the fleet,
the vessels,
and to ensure a just and equitable transition. And that last leg cannot be given less priority than the others. That's where seafarers, gender equality comes in. So it's important that as we decarbonization, that the seafarers are not left behind. The seafarers, Sean, are going to be operating these new engines, these zero carbon powered ships. Seafarers are going to be operating the ships that are carrying these zero carbon fuels as cargo to bunker stations. They're going to be operating bunker barges.
The vessels
lower our priority and investment in their training.
The vessels
that can happen.
The vessels
focus is on the business of shipping. How can I decarbonize and not be penalized? We have to give equal focus to the backbone of the supply chain, which is the seafarer. That seafarer is going to need enhanced training on dealing with a hydrogen explosion, ingesting ammonia or the third fuel. How do you deal with responding to an incident involving these zero carbon fuels? And one thing that is not waiting on us is extreme weather conditions. So extreme weather conditions can trigger an incident. And so we have to ensure that we pay sufficient attention to the training of seafarers and the protection of seafarers while we decarbonize. So
you talked about in your entree there about large cruise ships, big container ships. Ships are getting larger. We're getting 25,000, 28,000 TEU vessels. You're getting 6-story high cruise liners, and they need to be looked after. They need to be operated safely because we've got lives at risks, and also we've got pollution of the sea. And we saw it with the Costa Concordia, with the very fact that the whole salvage operation had never been done before in a vessel that large. And then when you come into the training, it's all linked in here. And then you've got the change of the decarbonisation. So decarbonisation being at the root now. So there are so many challenges moving forward. Where do we start, Bert? I mean, how does the industry tackle these things?
Well, the industry has started. As we speak, there's an intersessional working group meeting at the IMO. Next week will be the MEPC, where the debate on decarbonization will continue. The IMO is also looking at, the STCW convention, which deals with training of seafarers. The Maritime Safety Committee has already produced guidelines on dealing with hydrogen and ammonia and other zero carbon fuels. So there is a discussion, a debate that has started at the IMO. What's important, well, the port states, the ports are not necessarily regulated by the IMO, it's the ships. So it's important that the ports also come together and talk about what role will we play in ensuring that these larger cruise ships, container ships, ships carrying these fuels with a potential risk, how can we respond? It's going to take investment. Well, one of the arguments that the Caribbean is putting forward at MEPC is that we need a levy. Nobody likes to hear about a tax, but we need a levy on carbon, and the revenues should go towards assisting ports in developing countries, small and developing states, to decarbonize and to support the other efforts. Well, they're going to take money, Sean. The route that we seem to be going is that you have to levy the industry owner. And although nobody likes to hear this word, levy and tax, that may be the only route to ensure that there is a just and equitable transition and that no country is left behind as we decarbonize.
And that brings us nearly on to Diego, very much on the port side there, and my job. But having listened to what's been said so far, can you help to connect the dots really between this whole issue of decarbonisation, the whole issue of bringing in the ports and the harbours, and using then facilities and resources such as hydrography to make sure that we can actually work together to prevent accidents and to keep safety paramount. So how can we join all the dots on it?
Well, so first, I would like to support Bert with what he just said a while ago. In terms of what we're moving towards now in hydrography is unmanned surface vessels, right? These vessels uses like batteries, right? So I think we're gonna get our first here in Jamaica in 2025, right? So instead of using these diesel fuel vessels and stuff, we will be going towards the unmanned surface vessels. So in terms of safety, all things join into the ports and stuff. So there are many instances where whenever we're doing a survey, we normally map the buoys as well, because sometimes, especially when there's a hurricane pass by, move, right? And there was an instance, a colleague of mine yesterday was saying that they were down by Salt River. And the buoys down there, because we just had a barrel pass, and some of them, they are out of place, and because they were sailing and they were actually in the shipping channel. Right. So in terms of that, as hydrographers, we normally coordinate these and actually send them to the PAJ for them to actually put them back in place. Right. In terms of mapping our ports and harbors, because as you know that ships is getting bigger and bigger, and every country wants to actually, in terms of the tonnage, to accept larger ships. Right. So with our work in terms of that, when we provide the depths, then the port can know like what size ships they can actually take in based on the draft, etc.
Okay. So, but do you think enough has been done with the important aspects of the industry working together in all of this? Because there are a lot of challenges there.
Yes, when I think the IMO and the IHO, I think they're working very closely together. So I can say that yes, there is a lot being done with the IHO, right? And as Evette said, in terms of training as well, I think your earlier question that you asked in terms of the challenges, right? And what I have realized within the Caribbean, like a lot of the countries don't have trained professionals in the maritime industry. And so I can speak like for hydrography. I'm currently now, I think within the Caribbean, I think you have like 6 category A hydrographers, right? A lot of the countries in the Eastern Caribbean, they don't have that expertise to actually to actually carry out hydrographic survey. And so I think that is one of the big challenges to actually keep their ports safe. And so they have to be relying on outside companies to actually come in to do their mapping. So, well, for Jamaica, I think we've been training a lot, and I can say that we have the first woman nautical cartographer. The first and only in Jamaica, which is good because the IHO is currently focusing on women in hydrography, right? So there's a lot of scholarships to get the women into the field of hydrography because it is a male-dominated field, right? So I'm really proud at the National Land Agency that we have the first woman nautical cartographer, and is the only one in the country. So that is really good. So in terms of training, what we do to kind of face the challenges is to get our officers trained, and a lot of these trainings are done overseas. Currently, we have one officer in South Korea now doing his category B, right? And at the agency now, we have 2 Cat A hydrographers, 2 Cat B, right? So I think we're doing really well. But what we want to do in terms of training is to go out in the high schools, because a lot of person doesn't know about hydrography. I can't tell you. Especially in Jamaica, a lot of persons, right? And I think what we can do as well in terms of training is I know currently now at the University of Technology, they have introduction to hydrography, right? But I think that is not enough. So I think maybe we can actually partner with the CMU to maybe look at a course in hydrography there so that the younger generation actually can come up and actually keep our ports and harbors safe.
But Diego, you raised a couple of very valid points there, and the first women cartographers, excellent. I mean, I'd like to go down the street in my local town to hear people talking and saying, "I'm going after a job in maritime," rather than I want to be a lawyer or a doctor, or I want to go into management, or I want to be a footballer. You don't hear that. And I think, and this is really, shipping it is such an exciting industry to be in, plays such a crucial role, and people don't really know about it. And I think, I think it's tremendous how they're getting women. I want everybody into shipping. I want young people. I want all ethnic elements. Or it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it's about getting the right people into the industry and selling it. And I think industry needs to do a better job in selling. But I want to come on to the training side. I'm going to bring in Evette and also David on this. And Evette, just against all that sort of backdrop, we talked about a culture of safety, within the industry, and this whole training the maritime consciousness, which I think is interesting and really, really good. Well, Dave, I'm going to get your views on this as well. What can shipping do to to do a better job in actually selling itself? Because you get the right people in, you get a better safety culture. The youngsters nowadays are more attuned to safety than we were, probably in my generation. You know, there's fewer accidents, they're more conscious, they're more aware, they are different. What does the industry need to do you think, Evette, to actually start to square that circle when it comes to the right supply? The International Chamber of Shipping is talking about a shortage. We got issues coming up. What are your thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you.
And then you, Dave. Evette first, and then you, Dave. No problem.
Thank you for lining us up to come through the channel, Sean. You know, amazingly, and I'm excited. I think both of us are excited. That's why we would hit the button, because what shipping needs to do, and shipping meaning the sector, is exactly what Diego just spoke about. We have to get up and we have to go present ourselves to the possible clients and to the future workforce. So, I'm still elated, and I need to say that there is a woman who is a cartographer. I've never gone to a port management seminar and seen a woman sitting at that table on the hydrographic table. It's always men. And all we say we are not a feminist organization. We are not asking, we can't speak for the individual. We have to speak for the group ethos. We are asking for the recognition that competence is not gender mediated. And we want to say if the best man for the job is a woman, give the woman the job if she's competent. But what we have done from the education side, partnering with WIMAC, at the Maritime University, we make a week of this activity. We say this is Maritime Awareness Week. And one of the things that we did this week, coming up, leading into today, is that one day, Bert, we invited in a number of by all the metrics we use, the top girls' school in Jamaica to sit with us at the Caribbean Maritime University in a session. And for about 2 hours, we told them about the gamut of training that can be accessed to give them a profession. Because we think that they think, you sail. But we said, no, you can do your law degree and specialize in maritime law. The other half of the content is here. We have told them about being architects and naval architecture. And had I known, Diego, that you had such amazing things hidden down there, we would come to the National Land Agency and bring in our female cartographer. Because one of the things that we did is that we asked our superintendent of pilotage. So there is not one female marine pilot in Jamaica, but the boss of all of them is a woman. So we had the superintendent of pilotage come in and share from her vast experience. And the questions were hard and fast, and they were deep, rich questions, because for the first time, young people were seeing that if they are thinking about a good profession that pays them and that they can enjoy, there is a menu for selection in maritime fields. And so one of the things that we'll have to do is meet them where they are. And so we've made an effort to engage the guidance counselors in the Jamaican context because, Sean, they get to guide subject selection right from what we would call third form into when they tip off into university applications. And we are trying to engage other stakeholders who can guide thoughts about professional spaces. So we have to let them see us. So one of the things that we do for Maritime Awareness Week, we invite the Coast Guard out, let them see people in their uniforms so they can talk to them. Port Authority of Jamaica was gracious enough to allow us to access our utility vessel, the Jamaica 3, which is a brand new, very spiffy, top-of-the-line vessel. They get to tour it, they get a little spin around the harbor, and we start to help them to feel maritime, hence the maritime consciousness. So what can we do? A lot more of what we're doing. All of us who are in this space, engage the others who are not. Career changes people will choose. Suddenly, go ahead.
Okay, well, let me bring, Dave, I mean, if I could really bottle this passion that we have for shipping, I'd make a lot of money selling it, I think, really, on Amazon. But Dave, can I bring in get your views, really, on this whole issue about how we can sort of, come together and really start to attract in the right people? What are your thoughts?
Sure, thank you. So I had an interesting experience recently wherein the IMO here in London actually had an open house and opened the for the entire weekend, right? And that experience when I went there, toured the IMO, they had like information sessions, you name it and stuff. So I mean, really thorough tour, and I said this was something that definitely needs to be like replicated. As I mean, right through. I think that similarly, of course, our PLG or MEG there. I mean, they can do, similar activities in terms of like those open days in which you expose the students. What I learned from that tour recently is that there's certain resources that I feel we aren't actually tapping into as much as we should. For example, I don't know that there was an IMO Kids channel that's actually there, and there are resources that are there for, you name it, for 4 or 5 year olds, etc. and stuff. The question is, are we taking advantage of these resources that are actually already there? I know that tomorrow at the CMU, we're going to be inviting like several, high schools and stuff like that there. There may be some YouTube videos that are there where, shipping videos, stuff that we can share with them, let them take away, etc. We can compare the list. These are some of the things. But as Dr. Johnson said, definitely, we're doing stuff, but it's just all visibility. Another thing that happened recently that I have noted is that, for example, the partnership between Hart and now the German ship repair company. That is something that is actually good, very positive in terms of new programs where you are exposing, that other side, let's say, of shipping that's actually there in terms of the service sector, etc. So let's run with that. Let people understand that shipping doesn't necessarily only have to be, on the high seas. There's a lot of services that have to be done on land as well, etc., to support that. And I also want to mention finally that even in my own experiences, right, I'm hoping these days are gone, but I feel like I got exposed to the shipping environment and to the CMU, just by chance. I didn't hear about the CMU by chance. It was just by chance, right? I'm hoping those days are actually gone now, but I'm saying that there are things, for example, like when there's a book ship that normally comes here that's called the Logos tow ship that does voluntary stuff, and they sell books, etc. Right? And they go around the island. Are there other institutions like that with ships that are actually present that exposes people? I know when the Logos is here, thousands and thousands of people actually go on the ship. A part of it could actually be not just, experiences, but education about the seafarer life, which I know they do some aspect as well. So let us see if we can forge these partnerships wherein, other organizations like that, Logos as well. Let's invite them back. And then, that can help to spread the word. Thank you.
Bert, you had your hand up. Let me bring you in.
Yeah, so we all know that shipping is vital, but shipping is an invisible industry, and no one is going to sell the industry. The industry has to sell itself. And whether it is the regulators having the open house, or as a strategy I've seen in London, you have a London Shipping Week where you get all the players in a room, the minister speaking. It has to be a conscious strategy to increase the awareness of the industry. It cannot be left to 1 week each year during September with a particular day to raise awareness. It has to be part of a government strategy to raise the awareness.
Agreed.
I tell people jokingly, Sean, that shipping is like the person responsible for audio. A concert. If it works very well, you don't know the person. When it breaks down, you look to find who's responsible. And that's shipping. It's when an incident happens, that's when attention is being brought. So I think it's really for us to come together and have a strategy to increase the awareness of the industry to the population, whether, youngsters in, primary level school to university.
That's a valid point. And it reminds me very much of, shipping gets criticized by everybody. Did you know it represents 3% of global emissions, the same as Germany, what a dirty industry. And you think, well, it's only carrying the goods that you lot have ordered. This is the world. This is trade. It's not doing it for a laugh. It's doing it because it's facilitating world trade. And actually, an incredibly environmentally friendly way, because if you put all of those containers on a truck and move them from Yokohama to Europe, it'd be a bigger footprint. But also, there was a nice initiative adopted in Cyprus called Adopt a Ship, where they went into schools and they said to the children, said, right, pick a ship, and you can go onto these ship finders and things like that, and you can see it. And then they rang up the ship on the Inmarsat. They plotted it, they followed it all the way around on its journey. So the young children, the school children, were able to see what the ship was doing, where it was going, what sort of trade and what cargoes it was carrying and where it was going to be going and all the rest of it. And it is a very, very good way of doing that. So, and it really, really encouraged the youngsters to come in and what have you. So there are good options there. I'm going to, we've gone over the hour here, really. And Dave, you're exactly right. It should have started at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, but we got it wrong here. But all the delegates have come in an hour early anyway, because that's what they signed up for. So that's why we started it at 8:30. But could I just ask you just to give me your little summation on what we've been talking about today, what you hope to see in the next year or so, what you'd like to start to see maybe happening within the industry. And Evette, I'm going to start with you, I may. What are your thoughts on, if we had this webinar in a year's time, what would you like to be saying to me? And you're on mute.
Thank you. I think I'm up now. What would I like? In a year's time, I'd like to hear of greater engagement of stakeholders at the entry level. I'd like to hear that we are considering, or at least discussing in the legislative spaces, the need. Well, Bert has a desire for it too, if I dare say, because he articulated, not just for the hard things that we need to enter into as a country, to follow on the because we should be at zero emissions in another couple of years. But for the soft things, the cultural shifts, the gentle cultural shifts that we need to make. So I'd love to hear the Ministry of Education say that we're adding to our social studies curriculum or some kind of curriculum thereabout, discussions or topics, just a topic, importance of the sea and our maritime space. So that sea blindness, I'd love to hear some public talk about how we're reducing it as a nation. And then when it comes to the present professionals in the field, we'd love to hear about more opportunities like the scholarship that Diego's space has for women to take up some training. And I trust me, the same women who are the professionals are the women who are the mothers. They could attack it also from the home, which is the first space for education in any society. And so we need to give attention to education and the persons who are part of the process of education as we talk about women in the professional space. But I'd love to hear public hue and cry and some public fora where the discussion is happening and the discussion is tending towards legislation.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Evette. Diego, can I get your snapshot on the year ahead, what you'd like to be telling me in a year's time? Presumably another female cartographer, hopefully, another woman cartographer.
Yes, currently now, that is in line because every year we try to get our officers trained, right? But what I'd like to see is a better partnership. I mean, with all the different agencies, MAJ, PAJ, the CMU, and the National Land Agency, right? Because what I'd love to see, because our agency, we have in terms of training, because we are an IHO member state, but once you're in the maritime industry, these scholarships is accessible. So it's not only to hydrographers, right? So what I'd like to see is a better collaboration with the different agencies in terms of training, because I think once we have a strong workforce that is properly trained, I think our ports and harbors will be in safe hands as well, right? So the other thing I would like to support Evette with as well regarding the Ministry of Education is to get into the schools more. I mean, like put into the curriculum the different aspects of the maritime industry, right? And these are discussions that we're having at our ministry as well in terms of hydrography, right? Because a lot of persons are asking, what is hydrography? They don't even know what to do. Who's an hydrographer, right? So our mandate now here at the Hydrographic office is to get into the schools, and we're going to do that through the Ministry of Education, right? Whenever they have career days and stuff, we're going to be in the schools with them to actually let them know exactly what we do. I can't, us putting ourselves out there as well, it will be really good, because I just finished a class with land surveyors, and at the end of the semester, everybody want to do hydrography. No, well, except for 2 persons. I had a class, I got 15 and 13 students. They want, because they're really interested. They didn't even know that this exists, basically, right? So that's what I would love to see in the next year when we speak again.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you very much, Dr. Muir. Can I come to you and get your sort of words on the next sort of 12 months ahead? What you'd like to be telling me?
Sure. So what I would push for is definitely an increased adoption, right? So increased adoption in terms of the technologies that we actually see now, in terms of the use of AI, in terms of the use of virtual and augmented reality in the training experiences to really enhance the safety that's there. And when I say increased adoption, I mean, it's not just in training as well, in maintenance procedures, fragment, the VR allows us to go in environments wherein, it promotes collaboration, right? So now with the connectivity of ships, with Starlink, with G capabilities that are actually exercises that have to be carried out, maintenance exercises that have to be carried out, right? If you can't do them completely, and you can have an environment wherein someone on shore can join you and you actually carry out these maintenance procedures safely and more efficiently. So what I want to really see is just more adoption of the technologies. This is what we all want to help us in terms of productivity, you name it. Secondly, I want us to leverage what we already have on the ground. So, for example, I'm aware that CMU has this Festo facility that's there. Festo is big when it comes to automation, AI, etc. What's the relationship like between that Festo facility and the Faculty of Marine Sciences? What can we do in terms of with Festo to boost those programs that are already there to ensure that our graduates are ready with this level of technology to hit the ground running and to make the changes so that the shipping industry is no longer quote unquote lagging, as you'd say, in terms of the use of technology. That's what I'd like.
Thank you very much, Dave. Bert, I think we'll have to give you the last words on this, looking ahead.
Yes. So, Sean, for me, it's about partnerships. I'd love to see more partnerships, more engagement between regulators and between the regulators and industry. So I'm hoping in a year's time, you will see us talking about coming together to deal with the challenges and to exploit the opportunities in the shipping sector. It's important, Sean, that we connect the dots. I'm going to give you 2 quick examples. Using Diego, charterers have to nominate a safe port. Part of the charter party obligation. Safe port is based on a case called Eastern City, is one that a ship can safely enter, use, and leave. If you don't have up-to-date charts, that port cannot be nominated safe. So without Diego's survey leading to up-to-date charts, a charterer cannot nominate, let's say, Kingston as a safe port because the data there is not up to date. There is an IMO convention, Sean, that deals with liability and compensation. If the Port Authority and Harbour Authority has contributed to an oil spill because the aids to navigation are out of place, then the ship owner will avoid liability for pollution damage. So if Diego's outfit doesn't ensure that the aids to navigation after the passage of a hurricane are not put back in place, and there's an incident, the ship owner will avoid liability, and the country will have to absorb the damage caused by the oil spill. But nobody knows what the National Land Agency is doing. So for me, it's important to connect the dots to show how important the various activities, shipping activities, are to the economy. I think once we do that and people can see the actual importance of shipping and we can get the partnerships going, I think we'll be in a much better place in addressing this issue of shipping being this bad industry. So for me, partnerships is going to be key going forward.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Bert. I'd like to thank all of the speakers today for a great partnership in giving me great segues into different questions, and it was an incredibly enjoyable debate. We've gone over for an hour and a quarter, which is superb. A lot of areas that we've covered. I would like to thank you for your time today. It's a lot of time put aside for something like this, but it's a great honour to tap into your knowledge and your expertise, to hear your views, and it's certainly added to a very, very good debate. And thank to everybody who's come in as well. But thank you very much indeed, and we look forward to seeing you next time. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.